Band Si-hyuk stays silent. Jungkook's fans explode with anger. Why won't HYBE's chairman defend the member, who generated millions? What does silence mean when millions are watching, billions are at stake, and the name Jungkook is trending alongside the word exploitation? Is silence neutrality, or is it a message louder than any denial? And when the chairman of the world's most powerful K-pop empire reads a message about alleged financial misconduct tied to BTS and chooses not to reply, who is that silence really protecting? These questions did not emerge quietly. They detonated across social media, fan forums, and global entertainment headlines the moment investigative outlet newst revealed a single, chilling detail. Bang Si-hyuk, chairman of HYBE, had reportedly read their inquiry about the alleged use of BTS-generated funds to cover Scooter Braun-related debt and did not respond. No statement, no clarification, no defense, just silence. And in that silence, Jungkook's name became the center of an emotional storm. This is not just another corporate controversy. This is not merely about balance sheets, acquisitions, or expansion strategies. This is about perception, loyalty, and a growing belief among fans that the most profitable artist in HYBE's history is also the most quietly sacrificed. Why Jungkook? Because among all members of BTS, he is seen as the ultimate revenue engine, the golden magne, whose image, voice, tours, merchandise, and solo power have generated enormous profit, yet who rarely speaks about contracts, money, or power. And now, fans are asking a dangerous question. If HYBE will not speak when Jungkook's labor is allegedly used to settle someone else's debt, when will it ever speak? The controversy traces back to allegations that HYBE used approximately 120 billion Korean won's KRW, equivalent to about $83 million to cover debt associated with the 2021 acquisition of Ithaca Holdings, the American entertainment company led by Scooter Braun. According to investigative reporting referenced widely by Koreaboo, while the acquisition was initially reported as being worth around 1 trillion Korean won's KRW, the actual investment reached approximately 1.2 trillion Korean won's KRW. That figure included not only the purchase price, but also the assumption of Ithaca Holdings' existing debt. That debt, according to the same reports, allegedly included loans Scooter Braun had taken out during his acquisition of Taylor Swift's master recordings. While Braun later sold those masters and reportedly retained much of the profit, the remaining debt stayed attached to Ithaca Holdings and, after the acquisition, allegedly became HYBE's responsibility. Here is where BTS enters the center of the narrative. At the time of the acquisition, BTS was not just HYBE's biggest artist. BTS was HYBE's financial backbone. Tour revenue, album sales, global merchandise, licensing, endorsements, BTS dominated HYBE's income streams. Reports indicated that HYBE used approximately 74% of its cash reserves for the Ithaca acquisition, in addition to securing 560 billion Korean won's KRW in loans. For fans, critics, and observers, the implication was unavoidable. The money fueling this aggressive expansion into the US market was largely money generated by BTS, and among BTS, Jungkook's individual brand power stood unmatched. Yet while corporate logic might frame this as reinvestment for global growth, fans frame it very differently. They see labor converted into leverage, artistry transformed into collateral, and silence used as a shield. The firestorm intensified when the allegations went viral on Korean forum The Ko, before exploding on platforms like X, formerly Twitter. One post from the account at @OniEmpire, stating, HYBE is accused of using $83 million of BTS's money to pay off Scooter Braun's debt, reportedly surpassed 2.5 million views in a matter of hours. The image accompanying the post was simple but explosive, the HYBE logo alongside a photo of BTS. What followed was not just outrage, but a narrative shift. Fans began to scrutinize not only HYBE's financial decisions, but Bang Si-hyuk's personal responsibility as chairman. And when newst claimed they had directly contacted Bang Si-hyuk for comment, only to see their message read without response, the reaction escalated from anger to betrayal. Why read and not reply? Why stay silent when the name BTS is being dragged into a scandal involving American executives and historical industry debt? Why not defend the artists whose work built the empire? For Jungkook's fans, the silence cut deeper. Jungkook has long been known as one of the most reserved members of BTS when it comes to business matters. He rarely addresses contracts, company politics, or financial structures. His public image is built on performance, dedication, and emotional connection with fans, not corporate power plays. This has made him beloved, but it has also made him, in the eyes of many fans, vulnerable. The quietest one always pays the highest price. One viral fan comment read, "Across social media, Jungkook began to be described as the silent victim, the golden engine, and the artist who gives everything but asks for nothing." Fans questioned whether his silence was being exploited, whether his trust in the company was being taken for granted, and whether HYBE's leadership assumed his loyalty meant limitless access to the value he creates. The anger was not just about money. It was about recognition, respect, and defense. HYBE, as of now, has not issued an official statement addressing the specific allegation that BTS-generated funds were used to pay off Scooter Braun's debt. Requests for confirmation have reportedly been submitted by multiple media outlets. No responses followed. Band Si-hyuk has not spoken publicly on the matter. Scooter Braun has not directly addressed the allegation either. And in the vacuum left by official silence, speculation has become the loudest voice. Fans have begun connecting dots across HYBE's recent controversies, from internal conflicts with sublabels like ADOR to broader concerns about artist management, transparency, and power concentration. For some, this scandal is not an isolated incident, but part of a pattern, one where HYBE's global ambition repeatedly collides with the emotional contract fans believe exists between artists and the company. That emotional contract is especially strong in the case of BTS. BTS is not just a group. It is a cultural phenomenon that reshaped the global music industry. Their success turned HYBE from a mid-sized Korean agency into a multinational corporation. Their names opened doors in markets once considered unreachable for K-pop. Their labor built not just profit, but prestige. When fans hear that money generated by BTS may have been used to settle debt linked to a Western executive's past business dealings, the sense of injustice feels personal. Why should BTS pay for Scooter Braun's debt? Why should Jungkook's voice, image, and youth bankroll decisions he never publicly endorsed? And why, when questioned, does the chairman of the company remain silent? These questions gain even more urgency as speculation grows about BTS's rumored group comeback in March 2026. Investors are watching. Fans are watching. The industry is watching. HYBE's image, carefully constructed over years, now hangs in a fragile balance between corporate strategy and public trust. Industry observers warn that unresolved allegations could impact HYBE's standing with both fans and investors. Trust, once cracked, is difficult to repair, especially in an industry driven as much by emotion as by profit. For Jungkook's fans, the concern is not abstract. It is immediate. They fear that when BTS returns as a group, the same structures that allegedly allowed this controversy will still be in place. And once again, Jungkook will perform. Jungkook will smile. Jungkook will give everything. But who, fans ask, will speak for him? One viral comment encapsulated the frustration perfectly. Fans were furious when Newjeon spoke up. The comment said, "But why does no one speak up for their own idols? Why is it always the artists who carry the burden of silence, while executives remain untouched?" This question cuts to the heart of the scandal, because this is no longer just about 120 billion Korean won's KRW. It is about power dynamics. It is about who absorbs risk and who avoids accountability. It is about whether artists are partners in success or merely instruments of expansion. Jungkook's name continues to trend alongside words like exploited, used, and unprotected. Each trending tag amplifies the pressure on HYBE's leadership. Each unanswered question deepens the perception that silence is a choice, not an accident. And in newsrooms, on social platforms, and among fans across continents, one final question refuses to fade. If Bang Si-hyuk will not speak now, When allegations strike at the heart of BTS's legacy and Jungkook's labor, then when will he ever speak? Until that silence is broken, the story remains unfinished. And the anger, especially among Jungkook's fans, shows no sign of fading. The silence did not end the story. It multiplied as hours turned into days, and days into a full news cycle without clarification from HYBE. The controversy began to evolve from a single allegation into a broader referendum on power, accountability, and the invisible hierarchy between artists and executives. And at the center of that expanding narrative, Jungkook's name refused to disappear. Why Jungkook? Again and again? Why not BTS as a whole? Why not HYBE as a corporation? Because in the eyes of fans, Jungkook represents the purest form of value creation without visible control. He is the member whose individual popularity translates instantly into sales, streams, headlines, and global relevance. He is the artist whose solo releases dominate charts without heavy corporate explanation. He is the face that brands want, the voice that sells out stadiums, the image that moves markets. And yet, when controversy erupts, he remains publicly silent, not issuing statements, not posting rebuttals, not defending himself. That silence, once interpreted as humility, is now being reinterpreted as vulnerability. Fans are beginning to ask whether Jungkook's quiet nature has allowed others to speak over him, decide for him, and potentially spend the value he generates without transparent consent. The allegation that BTS-generated funds were used to absorb debt tied to Scooter Braun's past business dealings is therefore not seen as a technical accounting issue, but as a symbolic act. The transfer of risk from executives to artists, and symbols matter more than numbers. In media analysis circles, this controversy is increasingly described as a trust rupture moment for HYBE. Not because the company expanded globally. Many fans supported that ambition, but because the expansion now appears, at least from the outside, to have been financed through a structure where BTS's earnings acted as a financial cushion for decisions made far above the artists' heads. The absence of Bang Si-hyuk's voice is especially damaging because of his historical image. For years, Bang Si-hyuk positioned himself not merely as a chairman, but as a visionary producer who understood artists. Emotionally, he was seen as different from traditional executives, someone who stood with BTS, who believed in their message, who rejected exploitative norms. That image helped build HYBE's moral brand as much as BTS's music did, which is why the current silence feels, to many fans, like a betrayal of that very image. When New Tamsa claimed that Bang Si-hyuk read their message and did not reply, it became more than a missed comment request. It became a narrative trigger. Fans began to interpret the act of reading without responding as symbolic, awareness without accountability, knowledge without responsibility. Is it possible that legal constraints prevent a response? Yes. Is it possible that negotiations, internal reviews, or strategic silence are at play? Also yes, but perception does not wait for legal memos. In the digital age, silence is interpreted instantly, emotionally, and globally. And for Jungkook's fans, many of whom see him as the least protected despite being the most profitable, the silence confirms their worst fear, that when profits are counted, Jungkook is central, but when problems arise, he stands alone. This fear is amplified by the timing. BTS is currently in a transitional phase, with group activities paused due to military service and members focusing on solo paths. In this period, individual members' brand power becomes even more visible. Jungkook's solo success during this era has been undeniable. Every release is dissected, every performance analyzed, every appearance monetized by the surrounding ecosystem. Fans are now questioning whether this solo power also means solo exposure to risk. If the company faces backlash, if investments sour, if debts surface, who absorbs the emotional and reputational damage? Executives with diversified portfolios, or artists whose names are inseparable from the brand. The Scooter Braun dimension of the story further complicates the emotional response. Scooter Braun is not a neutral figure in pop culture discourse. His name is already associated with controversy, particularly around the ownership and sale of Taylor Swift's master recordings. For many fans, the idea that BTS's earnings, especially Jungkook's, could be linked, even indirectly, to resolving debt from that chapter of Western music history feels deeply unfair. Why should a Korean artist, who trained from a young age, endured intense pressure, and built success from the ground up, be financially entangled with disputes he had nothing to do with? This question